We will call this meeting to order for the Board of County Commissioners for Douglas County, Nebraska for Tuesday, March 10th, 2026. Please note that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is located on the north wall of the Legislative Chamber alongside an automatic external defibrillator. Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Today we have a very brief item for Board of Trustees for the Health Center and Mental Health Center, so we're going to jump in there briefly. Let's do a roll call for the Board of Trustees for the Douglas County Health Center and Community Mental Health Center.
Trustee Borgeson. Trustee Kavanaugh. Trustee Fahey. Trustee Friend. Trustee Morgan. Trustee Rogers. Mr. Chair.
Here. You should have a copy of the agenda. There is just one consent item for the approval of Dr. Anna Buckingham. Sherry is back there. Do you just want to give a quick 30 seconds on just the need to approve this today due to a timing issue?
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Sherry Driver, Douglas County Community Mental Health Center Administrator. Our psychologist, Dr. Gillespie, is retiring after 27 years of service to the Community Mental Health Center. And by regulation, we are required to have a psychologist on staff with us, and they provide essential duties within all services of the Community Mental Health Center. So we need to credential Dr. Anna Buckingham as our selected psychologist.
Perfect.
Questions?
All right. Any questions? If not, I'll take a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Morgan, second by Rogers. Please vote.
Mr. Chair, is it custom for the Board of Trustees to also include adjournment? Or
We
no?
sure can, since this is the only item.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's do that.
All right. Trustee Borgeson.
Yes.
Trustee Kavanaugh. Trustee Fahey.
Yes.
Trustee Friend.
Yes.
Trustee Morgan.
Yes.
Trustee Rogers. Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0, and we are adjourned as the Board of Trustees at 9:02 a.m.
Thank you. Next, we will go to our Douglas County Board of Equalization. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Borgeson. Commissioner Kavanaugh. Commissioner Fahey. Commissioner Friend. Commissioner Morgan. Commissioner Rogers. Mr. Chair.
Here. First item of business are items A and B. A being the approval of the minutes of the Board of Equalization meeting held Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026, and B being a call for a meeting and set Tuesday, March 24th, 2026, as a date for hearing on certified assessment corrections reflecting the addition of omitted property to the tax rolls or increased value on property. Do I have a motion and a second for both?
So moved.
Motion by Morgan, second by Rogers. Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Next, we have our resolutions, which are items C and D, which we can take in block plus adjournment if desired.
Second.
Motion by Rogers, second by Morgan to approve C and D plus adjournment. Questions or comments from board or public on these items? If not, we'll vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. We will now jump into our Board of County Commissioners agenda. Roll call.
Commissioner Borgeson.
Present.
Commissioner Kavanaugh. Commissioner Friend.
Here.
Commissioner Fahey.
Here.
Commissioner Morgan.
Here.
Commissioner Rogers. Mr. Chair.
Here. All right, first item of business are items 1A and B. A being the approval of the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026. And B being the approval of claims submitted for payment process through Tuesday, March 17th, 2026. Do I have a motion and a second for both?
So moved.
Motion by Morgan, second by Rogers. Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Next, we have our consent agenda for items A through I. Do I have motion and second for discussion?
Second.
Motion by Rogers, second by Morgan. We'll go to Commissioner Kavanaugh.
A point of public information on item D, the approval of the 2026-27 Visitor Improvement Fund application guidelines are contained in there, and they note that applications are due no later than April 24th, 2026. I just put that out there because we have millions of dollars in grants to hand out this year, and it would be good for people to get their grant applications in on time if they have a deserving community project. The Visitors Improvement Fund is designed to help our community by bringing people here from all over the country and the world to enjoy community activities in Omaha. So that date, again, is April 24th, 2026 at 3 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Anybody else on consent agenda, board or public? If not, we'll vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. We will proceed on our agenda to Section 5, recognitions and proclamations, of which we have 2. For item A, do we have Mike here from GIS by chance? I don't think so. So the first one was to have a recognition of the following county employee who is retiring. Our Director of GIS, Michael Shanlau, who worked for Douglas County Geographical Information Systems Department for 17 years of service. And do we also have Michael Gillespie here by chance? No? Okay. He is also retiring and worked for Community Mental Health Center for 27 years. So we want to thank both for their service to the Douglas County citizens and our local community. So I'll take a motion in a second for both.
So moved, and would comment Mike Shanla did our maps of the districts and really did an outstanding job for the county.
Definitely. Motion by Morgan, second by Rogers, and we'll vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Section 7, public hearing, of which we have a continued item from the last board meeting on March 3rd. So a continuation of the open public hearing for a Class C license for Indian Creek Golf Course, DBA Indian Creek Golf Course, at the address listed on the final agenda there, manager application for Jim Nedrau. And the public hearing remains open. Did you have any updates to give?
We at Sydney Gotch Indian Creek Golf Course, we had sent out letters last week, worked with Dan and gave him the list of everyone that they were sent to, kind of update.
Thank you. Let me go to Commissioner Friend.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And Sydney, thanks for coming down again. And thank you for rapidly, it sounded like Tuesday morning, or no, Wednesday morning you had those theoretically distributed, correct?
Yep.
I mean, yeah, that's all we could ask for, and we appreciate your due diligence here. So thanks again for coming down.
No
Mr.
problem.
Clerk?
Dan Ash, Douglas County Clerk, just had the note for the record. We did receive one email in opposition, but it was from Ricky Fulton, who resides at 410 South 82nd Street.
Noted. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
I make a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll take that as soon as we close the public hearing. Any other comments on this public hearing? If not, I will now close the public hearing. What is the will of the board? Commissioner Friend?
Make a motion to approve the resolution.
Motion to approve by Friend, second by Morgan. Any final comments or questions on that motion? If not, we'll vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, and thanks again for
Thank
being
you.
here. Yep. All right. We'll move forward on our agenda here into committees. Under finance, we just had the budget report as presented. And then under child and youth services, we do have a monthly report on the Douglas County Youth Center for February 2026. Dr. Carball will lead us. And Director Woodard is here as well.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dr. Abby Carbaugh, Douglas County Juvenile Justice Administrator. Like Commissioner Garcia said, I am here to give you a population update for February 2026 on our juvenile detention. So as a reminder, we have 2 detention facilities here in Douglas County. The Douglas County Youth Center, or DCYC, is located at 42nd and Center. It has a bed capacity of 144 beds and operational capacity of 96. And as of last Thursday, March 5th, our population was 68. There's also the Youth and Family Services Center, or the YFSC, that is located here downtown. It has a bed capacity of 64 and operational capacity of 52. And as of last Thursday, there were no youth housed in that facility. So all of the information in the presentation today is related to the population currently housed at DCYC. So the first data slide that I have shows our monthly admission trends. We can see that there was a pretty big decrease in January, but we had a downward trend for the rest of the year going up to that point. We had 54 admissions in February, so even though this is an increase, it's still part of the overall downward trend we've seen since January of 2023. Of those 54 youth who were admitted last month, 3 were charged as adults, 47 were charged in juvenile court, and 4 were from other jurisdictions. This slide shows our average time to release for youth who were in detention. During February, the average time to release across all youth was 74 days. 4 youth were originally charged as adults, and they were released after an average of 321 days in detention, and 35 juvenile court youth were released after spending 45 days at DCYC. This graphic shows our monthly average daily population for the last 3 calendar years. Since mid-2025, the average daily population has also been on that downward trend. February 2026 had the lowest average daily population for all groups in this 3-year period. The total average daily population during February was 64, with 39 youth in juvenile court, 22 charged as adults, and 3 from other jurisdictions. This graphic just drills down into a little bit more detail to show you the weekly populations since January 2023. You can see the continued downward trend, especially in that gray line. That gray line represents youth who are charged as adults. So turning to demographics, as in previous reports, youth of color remain consistently overrepresented in DCYC annual admissions relative to their proportion in Douglas County. In February, Black youth accounted for 44% of DCYC admissions. Hispanic youth made up 26%. 8% of youth admitted were Asian, and 6% were Native American. During February, white youth accounted for 16% of the admissions to DCYC. With regard to gender, boys still account for the majority of admissions, but the proportion of girls has been increasing. Whereas in 23 and 24, girls made up about 20% of the admissions each month, they accounted for 1/3, or 18 of the 54 total admissions in February of 2026. And the final demographic slide shows the geographic distribution of youth admitted into DCYC across Douglas County. The darker blue areas on these maps indicate higher concentrations of admissions. So consistent with what we saw during calendar year 2025, during February 2026, our admissions were disproportionately concentrated in eastern Douglas County, and particularly in 68111 and 68104. During the month of February, DCYC had a low population of 61, an average daily population of 64, and a high of 69. There were 68 youth in detention on the first day of the month and 65 youth in detention on the last day. The home program screened 8 youth for placement on community supervision. 4 were referred from the court, and 4 were referred from the court, and 4 were referred from probation, and 6 were accepted for supervision. We had 56 releases during the month of February, with an average time to release of 54 days. Last month, 3 youth charged as adults were released after an average of 262 days. 20 predisposition youth were released after an average of about 61 days in detention, and this does include 1 youth whose case was transferred from adult court to juvenile court after 530 days. With regard to youth on juvenile probation, 6 youth with new charges were released after around 38 days. 8 youth admitted for reasons other than a new law violation spent 49 days in DCYC. The last 2 youth who had been transferred back to DCYC from the YRTC Kearney were also released last month, and they had spent 124 days with us. Finally, 4 youth from other counties spent an average of 32 days in Douglas County detention. With regard to admissions, we had 54 youth who entered DCYC during February. 2 were charged in adult court, 3 were from other jurisdictions, and 1 was ordered to be detained for failure to pay traffic court costs and fines. The remaining 48 youth had charges in Douglas County Juvenile Court. Of these, 29 were on a predisposition status, 6 received new charges while on probation, and 13 were on probation and admitted for reasons other than a new law violation. For the 50 Douglas County youth admitted to DCYC in February, 12 were admitted on weapons-related offenses. 8 of these were felonies and 4 were misdemeanors. 14 youth were admitted on non-weapons felonies. 4 were admitted on non-weapon misdemeanors. And the final 20 entered detention for reasons other than the commission of a new offense. When we look at the 12 youth who were admitted on weapons-related charges, 1 had adult court charges, 9 were admitted on predisposition status, and 2 had those new charges while they were on probation. 2 offenses involved the use of a firearm, 2 involved the use of another type of weapon, and the remaining 7 involved firearm possession, and there was 1 weapon possession. So 7 of the 8 weapons-related charges were felony-level offenses. 4 involved the use of a firearm, and the underlying offenses included assault. Pardon me. Excuse me. 6 of the felony firearm offenses, 2 were use and 4 were possession. The additional charges underlying these youth were assault, tampering with evidence, and weapon possession. For the 3 felony weapon-related offenses, 2 involved use of a weapon and 1 was a weapon possession. 3 of the misdemeanor firearms were all possession-related offenses. With regard to the other types of felonies that were committed for youth admitted during February 2026, all 14 of these youth were admitted in juvenile court, 11 were on predisposition status, and 3 were on probation with new charges. There were 4 youth who had committed assault-related felonies, 4 with drug possession, 3 with theft, 2 with burglary, and 1 with sexual assault. With regard to the 4 youth who had committed other types of misdemeanors, all 4 of these were in juvenile court as well. 3 were on a predisposition status, and 1 received new charges while on probation. 3 of these offenses were misdemeanor assault, and 1 was misdemeanor level theft. And then with regard to those last 20 youth who were admitted for reasons other than a new law violation, 1 was charged in adult court and 19 were admitted in juvenile court. With regard to the reasons for their admission, 9 had unlawful absences, 6 were ordered detained by the court, 3 had failed to appear in court, 1 had lost their placement, and 1 was in adult court on a probation custodial sanction. The underlying offenses these youth had committed were a mixture of felony and misdemeanors. With regard to felonies, their underlying offenses included assault, firearm possession, robbery, and unlawful occupancy. With regard to the underlying misdemeanors, these included offenses such as assault, disturbing the peace, firearm possession, resisting arrest, and trespassing. So the last few slides that I have for you show our snapshot population of DCYC as of last Thursday, March 5th. On that day, we had 68 youth in detention. 5 were admitted from other jurisdictions, 21 were being held on adult court charges, and 42 were being held on juvenile court charges. Of those juvenile court youth, 15 were on a predisposition status, and 21 were on juvenile probation at the time they were admitted. We had 90% youth of color in detention, and 81% of our population was male. This slide shows how long those Douglas County youth had been in detention as of last Thursday. So for the 63 Douglas County youth who were in detention on that day, the average length of stay was 128 days, with 9 youth having been in detention for 1 year or longer, and an additional 5 having been in detention for longer than 6 months. Last Thursday, we also had 9 youth in detention who were dually involved in the child welfare and juvenile justice systems. 3 of these youth were admitted to detention on predisposition status, and 6 were admitted on juvenile probation. Again, we see an overrepresentation of youth of color within this population. Only 11% of these youth were white. We also see an overrepresentation of girls. Again, it's a small number, but 2/3 of the dual system youth were girls, and their average length of stay for this group was 55 days. And then the final slide that I have for you provides information on the 11 youth who were waiting for release as of last Thursday, March 5th. 2 of these 11 youth were state wards, and 1 was from another jurisdiction. The average length of time that these youth had been waiting for release was 19 days. 4 of the 11 youth were approved to go to a shelter if it was available, and 6 were waiting placement at a psychiatric residential treatment facility, which provides intensive inpatient mental health care and support. These youth also had a mixture of felony and misdemeanor charges underlying their original offenses. Felonies included assault, criminal mischief, and weapon use, and the misdemeanor offenses included assault, disorderly conduct, and theft. So, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Carball. We'll go into discussion here, starting with Commissioner Kavanaugh.
Thank you. And thanks for this. Starting at the beginning, I'm glad to see that we're tracking the ongoing fiasco at the kids' jail across the street. So that 0 population has been consistently 0 for how long now?
I think a year and a half, at least 2 years.
The question I have is kind of a global one. It has to do, if you compare this to our monthly correction center reports, what we don't have here, and there's a lot of good information here, but what we don't have here is any financial information. So, for instance, you've got that 1.5, 2 years of an empty kids' jail, and we don't have any idea what that costs to date per month, any of that. If you look at, and I can provide you if you don't have it, the monthly correction center things, they, in addition to giving all this kind of information, it's good, have what are our staffing levels, what does it cost from a percentage of our budget per year. We're at 5%, 20%, whatever. And they give us actual numbers on things like overtime, sick leave, whatever. It would be good to have that. This is great population information, and we need that. But what does it cost the taxpayer? And we don't have any of that in here, particularly for this empty building across the street, which is ongoing. I have a couple questions relative to the demographics of the population. And if you could maybe go forward, I don't have the greatest eyesight in the world, but I'm looking at the page numbers, and they're hard to read if I'm missing them on some pages. I don't know. But on the page where we have DCYC monthly admission by race and ethnicity, do a good job of tracking that over time. It might help if we could see annual totals over time so that we could see whether the majority minority population, which seems to be constant, is going up or going down. I don't see it moving at all. On the first page, the one that I just referenced, we have a 84% majority minority. And then if we go to the 16th page, where again we have snapshot population demographics, we have a 90% majority minority. And then if we go to the 18th page, where it's snapshot population to dual system use, they have 89%. And I understand that these two snapshots are kind of subsets of the general population, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so there's variation in these subsets. But it doesn't look like we're getting much change over time, although it's hard to determine that from here. So if I go to the end line of the original page on monthly admissions, I get February 26, and if I total those up, I think I get that 84% majority minority. But I kind of have to total it up. And right next to it, and thank you for this, we do have the Douglas County population by race. And so we have a white population of 65.4% in Douglas County. And we have a Douglas County youth population of 16% white. We have a black population and a Hispanic population of about 35%, 36%. But the majority minority population, which includes Asian, Native American, and others for about 4%, is 84%. So it's way, way out of whack. It's upside down. And I know that's not anything that you can do but report on, but I appreciate that. And thank you. I might have a couple more. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'll take a quick round here for both, and these might be questions kind of globally also for Rondi as well. But regarding the girls, by gender, you had mentioned that there's a increase in the female population here, looking at the by gender slide, and then also I'll hit on the dual system note as well regarding girls. But when we have increases in girls, I mean, I know we literally have space capacity, but does that affect kind of just our ability to treat, an increase of girls? If we have like 7 and then all of a sudden we have 17, I'm sure the way in which we care for the population is a little bit different when it comes to girls versus boys. So how do we kind of address that slight spike in the female demographic from a service perspective?
Actually, it stays the same. We have 2 units that are dedicated.
Rondi, can you identify yourself, please?
This is Rondi Woodard from the Douglas County Youth Center, superintendent. We just continue the model that we have because we have 2 units dedicated to the females, and they just seem to get the same services they would have no matter how many females we have, as long as we have the 2 units available. What becomes the problem is when we have to use 3 units for females, and we haven't had to do that for a long time.
Hit that mark. So the 2 fit how many girls if it was
16.
full?
Full, 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those single beds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's with both, it's 24, or per, it's 24?
12 per unit,
12
which
per
is a total
unit.
of 24.
Very good. And so the threshold that would cause a little bit of kind of balance issues with staffing would be if we had to have a 3rd ward at some point.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Regarding the dual system kind of dynamic of the girls, where those who are dually enrolled, 14% of the demographic, at least within the last month, about 2/3 of those are girls. And being dually enrolled, meaning juvenile justice system, but also health and human services system. Obviously, you're not in charge of health and human services, but is there any dynamic or details that maybe could allude to why 2/3 of the dually enrolled are girls? Are they more prone to running away, or is there something in there that maybe could show why that's happening?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Girls tend to not commit, felony type crimes. What they end up doing is going to placements and running. They have different issues than the boys have in the facilities.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and they tend to come back through health and human services and things like that when they abscond from placements and things like that, when those lower level interventions don't work for them.
And do we have like a liaison or a lead that kind of is in contact with the case managers on the Health and Human Services side when they're dually enrolled, like, because a family and a youth is working with both at that point, and so how do kind of we liaise between both systems to treat the youth?
We tend to end up working with both their probation officer and their HHS worker. All of them, both entities have access to the youth, so we communicate with both at all times.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Something to keep an eye on because that is an interesting kind of statistic there that 2/3 are girls for dually enrolled. I have a couple more topics to hit on, but I'm going to conclude my first round there just for the sake of time. Let me go to Commissioner Kavanaugh.
Thanks for coming. I was asking Abby about the availability of financial information, costs of things. You're familiar with the Corrections Department monthly report, and they go into that in some detail. It would be good going forward if we had that. Staffing is a thing. I know that we struggled with some of our educational staff, and that's been taken care of. But, how are we just in, general folks in different categories? It would be good to know where we are in terms of overall costs, where we are in the budget as a percentage of the year. If we could include that, it would make it much more comprehensive. This tells us a lot about the population, and that's important to know. But it doesn't tell us anything about how much we're spending on these children. And that'd be good to know if we could do that going forward.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Quick question. In this population of children, we do have a category which is other jurisdictions. I was just wondering if we have any children in our system who are being held because of ICE.
No, we do not.
That's good. You've read and I've seen in the media, ICE is grabbing children all over the country, and we don't particularly want to participate in that at all. And so if that ever comes up, it would be a good thing for us to hear about it if they've made entrees to you or if they've, in any way asked about the availability of Douglas County holding ICE hold children. I think that's something we'd want to know right away.
Okay.
Appreciate it. This majority population is a constant, and again, I know this is nothing that you have any control over. But when I was talking to Abby before, I was saying the look back, would it indicate any kind of a change? We have population changes, and we have subsets from the district court, the juvenile court going up and down. We even have average daily population changes. Do we ever see any population change significantly from this 89, 90% majority minority?
No, we do not.
As long as you've been there, which is quite a
It
while.
tends to be the same. We have little minor dips, but nothing substantial.
That's real concerning. But again, I understand that that's beyond your control. The job that you do is excellent. I want people to know that those children in our care are getting the best care that we can provide them. One of the things that I've been concerned about is the condition of the facility, of the plant itself. It's like any other, boarding school, I guess you would say, where you have upkeep and you have deferred projects. Is something going on right now in order to upgrade the condition of the Douglas County Youth Center?
Yeah, we have recently finished 7 housing units. We have 4 more housing units to finish completing. We have refurbished them, provided new beds and other things on the units where the kids are living. That's what we're currently working on right now. So, yeah, we've been doing a lot to take care of those things.
Okay. That might be, if we include the costs on this thing, something that we'd want to include as well, like deferred maintenance type of things. I know heating and air conditioning is always something, the roof, the plumbing, electricity, all those things. If we had a deferred maintenance thing going forward as an inclusion in the budget or in the fiscal information, that would be helpful. We'd like to have it be as pleasant an environment for these children as possible. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Let me go to Commissioner Rogers.
Mr. Chair, let me pull up a couple of questions that were asked. So the facility has mentioned what the facility cost. The new facility that's across the street, that is roughly, from my understanding, about $200K a year. That's my understanding.
okay.
So I'm just putting it on record. That's my understanding. It's $200K a year. That's basically because you need the heating, stuff like that, so it doesn't sit idle. And let's know for the record that it's not open by choice. The board can simply move to put that open. Now, the point of those costs, I'd be interested to see that, because personally, I think we definitely, you get audited and accredited. Well, you get audited by the state to make sure everything is in standing. So I think conditioning wise, that gets that. But I'd be interested to see what that number is for maintenance, and it's probably worth the point of noting. It's probably, instead of putting a substantial amount of money into the older building, to make the move to the newer one, and then use the older building to me, create a degree of service that may be needed between radius and detention. But another question was asked in regards to the cost per day per kid. It was my understanding at one point, Abby, that cost that was probably about $400 a day. If we included indirect cost, it was probably around $600 a day. And that's including medical and everything else. So if you all want to check that, but that's my understanding of what that is. So I just want to answer those for the record. So if you go to the page that has that comparison of the facilities, I guess my question is, so you list operational, and my question is in regards to what's the significance of this number? Because you list operational capacity at the new building, the capacity is 64, operational is 52. That's 81%. My understanding is there's no industry standard that says it's 81%. Because if that's the case, the operational capacity at the old building from going from 144 to 96 is somewhere around 66%. So I'm just saying, when we're saying operational capacity, those can't be apples for apples, because basically 96 is really the capacity of the old facility because of the Prison Rape Elimination Act. Am I right?
Yes, we have a 132-bed facility.
Okay, but the real capacity because of staffing, because everything that you go over 96 because of PREA, you put federal grants at risk. That's my understanding. If there's a violation of the Prison Rape Elimination Act and somebody was to check, the enforcement is holding on federal grants. I guess the point I'm making is that comparison is not apples for apples, because really the capacity of DCYC is 96 because of PREA. So the point I'm trying to make is there's no magic equivalence in the operational capacity of 52 beds. And my question is, who determined that number? Because at one point, a couple of years ago, when you had that rush of kids, we went to like 100. And you were over PREA in there. So I'm just making that point, because if you're making some comparison in capacity, then the real capacity of DCYC is 96. The operational capacity, if it's 81%, is a little lower than that. So I'm just saying, somebody give me some answer on that.
For clarity, the number of 96 is based on 8 kids on each unit. If we're ever in a situation where we have 9 to 12 kids on that unit, that just means we have to double up the unit. So that
In
just
the
means,
old facility? In the current facility?
yes, in the current facility. That just would require another staff member. So we could make it to 132. We would just have to provide additional staff on the units where it's required.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that works.
Let me call time on that.
But the point I'm just making am I over?
Yeah, let me
Oh,
call
sorry.
time, but I'll let Rondi finish his thought during my time. So start my time, Rondi, finish your thought.
Okay.
If
yeah,
there's anything
so
else.
That's really how that works. If we have 8 kids, 4 kids on different units, but we have a unit that has 12, then under PREA guidelines, we'd have to provide another staff member over there. And that's how that would work. We could always make it to 132. We would just have to staff the units.
Had just a few more quick topics here on my end. There was, I think, 2 or so YRTC returning youth that return to our facility as opposed to returning to the community or their home, for example. When they return to our facility, I'm assuming they're considered probation youth. Is that the case?
Yes, they were.
And is there any assumption, implication regarding them returning from a more intensive facility at YRTC to our facility? Do they return first to our facility because they need further treatment, or they're just waiting a placement or a court hearing? Why are they returning to our facility as opposed to like home?
When they returned based on a court order. So they were court ordered to be at our facility. And
No.
we held them until the court told us to release them.
Okay. And there's no like typical notion of like just waiting for a placement or anything like that?
When they first arrived, in those court orders, that's what they were waiting to do.
Yeah. Okay. Just curious on that. As far as there was 5 from other jurisdictions, and if we're within like 2 of the 5 from other jurisdictions, at least to me as one commissioner, not too big of a deal. But if we started to hit like 7, 10, 12, obviously that would be a little more concerning for our facility, which has its own limited capacity. But I'm just curious, for those 5 that were from other jurisdictions in the last month, were they all SARPI, or were there other jurisdictions beyond SARPI?
Actually, they're from 5 different
Really?
jurisdictions.
Interesting. What are those 5, if you know by hand?
I can't remember off the top.
5
of my head.
distinct Nebraska counties.
Yep, different counties.
Like could be Cass
Sarpy,
or
Buffalo, Cass, and I don't remember the other.
Okay. And just for information's sake, somebody like Buffalo County would send them to our county because they need more intensive placement or an actual secure detention facility versus what they have locally, or what are the causes or reasons?
Could be multiple reasons. They could have lost placement somewhere within city limits and needed a placement, so we detain them and hold them until they can go through their court process and make it back to their jurisdiction. Sometimes, some of these counties don't have detention centers, because you have to remember there's only 3 secure detention facilities in the state. So if they have a youth that scores out and needs to be detained, then they reach out to all the facilities and see who has capacity, and then we make the decision whether to accept them or deny them.
Yep. Okay. Very good. And Rhonda, you had connected me with a gentleman by the name of Mitch, who conducted the research on the actual cost that was commissioned, I think, by the state, but tossed to UNL to conduct a study on actual cost. So the board had talked about this last year at some point. And so that study actually is done. And we are trying to get Mitch to come present it to the board in a public meeting within the coming weeks. And the cost will be definitely in our favor, let's say, put it that way. So I'll let Mitch give the details there. Final question on my end. There were 6 waiting psychiatric residential treatment. That's, I think, a little higher than usual. I think there's around 2. So I'm curious if there's anything going on there. I'm going to call my time here and maybe circle back for my last 2-minute round. So hold your thoughts on that one. Let me go to Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you for the job you and your team do. And I mean that sincerely. When I've sat down and talked with you about the home program and some other things, what are the other counties paying on a per diem? Now, if you don't mind me asking, is that appropriate to ask?
Yeah, they pay the probation rate, because we only hold youth who are on probation, so they pay the $346.
$346 a day?
Yep, and Sarpy pays $400.
Okay. And I think Brad Alexander said this to us some time ago, and I wondered if it's still an accurate statement. He was saying that we're transporting almost every day someone down to the courts, which takes 2 deputies, I believe, taking them from 42nd down here to the courts. Is that fairly still accurate if they're going to court?
Most days, someone goes to court. We do detention hearings, and a lot of the hearings are done virtually now. So transportation is down, but some youth do have to go to court, depending on what that court hearing is for.
And it still takes 2 deputies when
Yes,
they're
it still
taking them
takes
to
2.
court?
Yes.
Okay. And I think last month we were at about 63, if I remember correctly, Abby. And out of the 68, how many are from other counties right now? 3 or so?
I think we currently have 4.
5?
5?
I think we have 4.
Yeah.
There's 5 in the report,
five
Yeah,
last
but
yeah,
Thursday,
it was
so.
5 last Thursday. It was 5 on my desk, but then I seen 4 up there.
Okay. Well, thanks again for the job the staff does and the work and the help to the youth. Appreciate it very much.
thank you. I'll take a quick third 2-minute round. I do keep track of, we all do, of course, of that slide on waiting for placement. Those who have been authorized for a placement and are waiting. Typically, the numbers lean heavier on the shelter group home placements, but this month it actually leans heavier on the psychiatric residential treatments, and there's 6 waiting for those placements, which I think is higher than normal. So, from your end, do you see any growing need there, or any context to that higher number? And also, can you remind us what are the typical psychiatric placements that you've go to that are waiting for this kind of placement in our area?
I know Emmanuel Hospital has a PRTF, and I believe Boys Town has a PRTF. I think those might be the only 2 I'm not aware of.
In the area, and I think Emmanuel actually has closed. I think they've opened Children's.
Yeah.
Yep, they've opened Children's, but Children's is not taking kids from detention.
Does obviously Children's new youth mental health initiative is quite large in size. Are they considered a PRTC?
No, I don't believe so.
No. Okay. So they wouldn't be taking any of these kind of youth.
No.
Okay.
So that just leaves us with Boys Town.
Okay. And is that higher number of 6 maybe because Boys Town is at capacity maybe, or is there something else happening there?
I honestly do not know.
Okay.
I haven't
Yeah.
heard anything about any changes to that, except with the exception of Emmanuel.
Okay. Yeah. If you wouldn't mind digging a little bit into that number of 6 and seeing what exactly might be holding up their placement, whether it's capacity or lack of a partner to send them to. I'm just curious to learn a little bit more, especially for those psychiatric placements. Thank you. Anybody else, board or public?
Just real quick, on these financial questions going forward, it would be good if we included everything that we have. For instance, on the kids' jail, it was referenced that it cost us $200,000 a month. Well, the rent is $220,000 a month, but that doesn't cover all the costs. We have bonded indebtedness and other costs on that empty building over there. And so just so that we get a complete picture, I would urge you to include all the costs of this fiasco so that we know what it's costing the taxpayers every month that building stands empty. And that cost could have been put into the youth center for this deferred maintenance that we're talking about that would have helped a lot. I just ask that, give us a clear picture of what it costs and what we're spending on our children and what we're wasting on this empty building going forward. Thank you.
And just to clarify, this monthly report has been a detention report for DCYC on 42nd and Woolworth, but we can definitely look at doing a more global superintendent's report, like once a quarter, that has more of that information, the financials and whatnot, just to kind of clarify the differences between the reports there. Ms. Tamika, you have something?
Good morning,
Morning.
everyone. My name is Tamika Meese. I'm the Executive Director of North Omaha Community Partnership. I just wanted to kind of share updates and perspective from our community-based organization. We've been going inside of DCYC for several months now with the intention of addressing underlying issues with the youth that causes them to go in to begin with and to, get in front of the curb of the recidivism. And so the way that we do that is we work with the youth while they're there, and we also work with their families. And so what we found is some of the youth through our surveys is that they come back because they know they're going to have warmth, they're going to have food, they're going to have shelter. And when they have come home before, they didn't have one or all of those things. And so what we do is work with the family to either maintain stabilization of the home or to acquire stabilization. And that's through our wraparound services. If you look at the zip codes where most of the youth resides that are coming into DCYC, they are the most, poverty-stricken zip codes in our city. And so we do look at that as an underlying issue and address those things. We work with the families as far as, offering rental assistance, utilities assistance, food assistance. We also partner with Charles Drew Health Center to offer the mental and behavioral health. And we go through all of those things to, address those issues that, pose as barriers, to whatever level of success that they need to achieve. We also partner with Metro Community College on, different trades and certificates, and also with the Urban League for their financial coaching workshops. And so with all of this combined and working with the youth and kind of strengthening our intervention strategies by actually going into DCYC. We are seeing that the families that we're working with, they are becoming stronger and more self-sufficient, which will provide more of a foundation for the youth to be successful once they return home. And, I give a lot of credit to Rondi and his team for, allowing us to come in to work with the youth. And we are also, visiting regularly to see what's working, what isn't working, and where we can improve. And I think the more that we do that and the more that the system relies on community-based services, the system also being probation, then you will see definitely a decrease in admissions and also a decrease in recidivism because we're addressing the underlying issues that's causing it to begin with. And that's all I wanted to say.
Awesome. Thank you for being here, Ms. Tamika. Appreciate all you do. Commissioner Rogers?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just real quick for the record, I just want to correct. The cost of the building is not $200,000 a month, it's $200,000 a year. The building sits how it sits by choice. The board's will makes it there. And I think it's not reasonable to say the $200,000 could be used to put into the old building. Again, the old building, the transition is logically to be made so the old building can be redid into a service that's needed to fill the gap. The $200,000 would be better suited in funding and addressing programs like we just heard here at the mic. So to use $200,000 to go into a building that can be used for another purpose is not sensible, but I just wanted to correct that for the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from Board or Public on the report today? Roscoe?
Roscoe Wallace, CEO and Program Director of Viable Healing. How everybody doing? Good to see you guys again. As usual, I wanted to I've been sitting back thinking about some of the conversations we've had since I've been having the pleasure of being in front of you guys. You guys know I talk heavily about restorative justice practices. And this is where, our laws was created for our kids. It was a restorative approach. I think we got away from that due to some of the violent occurrences of our younger kids. It kind of shifted us back into a more punitive type approach, which is understandable, more fear-based. And this is what our kids are feeling. And since going into DCYC with the strategy of restorative justice, letting these kids know they still have value, holding them accountable, holding their parents accountable, because this is where we're really getting a lot of buy-in from the kids. they're actually feeling like they're being heard. You know, other than that, they do understand that their actions is bringing about a more punitive approach to them. They're starting to understand the totality of their actions. They're starting to understand the community approach. The biggest thing is they understand the impact that I was telling you guys, these kids are doing things, but the actual impact, the actual ripple effects of different things. Like I tell them, you're not only hurting your op, you're hurting the block. So with all that being said, now the kids are in a position. They're feeling value, but at the same time, they're sitting. And there's decisions that's being made, and they're constantly being reminded of how they ran or how they did this or how they did that, right? And then talking to the kids, I said, well, Roscoe, you know, and to my staff, well, you guys said we got value and we feel that, but they don't want to take us here. They don't want to take us there, right? The other piece to that is the kids are realizing that they need partners in this thing. Parents didn't let them down. They feel community have let them down. They feel the OPS have let them down because nobody listens to their voice. We tell them what they need. So in saying all of that, that restorative approach is taking hold for these kids. Now we're talking about, and as Tamika talked about, how do we wrap around them? We getting them ready, but then we send them back out to these same situations that we expect results, better results. So that's the focus now, is that wraparound, a real intentional approach from the community-based, people that can actually get in these kids' ear and direct them and make them really feel valuable. And that's where the change really starts. And in conclusion, the kids that are sitting in there, they're sitting in there by our choice, by those layers of people that I don't know. And the kids feel that. We got kids sitting there for that reason. We would be under the numbers. The young ladies, okay, that's in there. We got maybe 3 or 4 of them that's new charges. The other young ladies are probation. So we got to ask ourselves, what are we wrapping around those kids? What is the efficacy of the programs that's being offered? So we're going to get ahead of that. We're tired of sitting back and watching our kids go to places that has failed them. Let's just be honest. So we're going to get ahead of that. Viable Healing and a lot of our partners are going to get it. We're going to take that responsibility. So that's what the next phase is, to knock down the recidivism, because we knocked down the violence.
Next time, Roscoe.
Okay, these kids are very empathetic to what is taking place. It's our responsibility to get them what they really need. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Anybody else on the report this month? Otherwise, thank you, Rondi, Abby, both of you for being here, for presenting. We're going to move forward on our agenda. Under committees, we just had human resources remaining, and under that, we have weekly personnel report from civil service as presented. We do have a need for executive session today for the purpose of contract negotiations. Anything else? That's it? Contract negotiations? Okay, that's it. I'll take a motion in a second for exec. Motion by Rogers, second by Morgan. Please vote.
And Commissioner Rogers. Motion passes 7-0.
Yeah.
Yeah. The board would now go into executive session for the purpose of contract negotiations.
Motion to reconvene and adjourn by Commissioner Borgeson, second by Commissioner Morgan. Motion passed 6-0. Commissioner Friend was absent for the vote. The meeting is adjourned at 10:43 a.m.